Hi, I'm Kathy.
And I'm Vanessa, and this is Latinx Collective Conversations, where we talk about private practice mindset and building community as Latinx clinicians. And we build community often. That's what we're about, obviously, coaching and community. But I believe that mentorship is a little bit different. And I say I believe with a specific thought in mind. But first, I'll ask you, Kathy, have you ever had an official formal mentor?
I have not.
Aha, you need it.
Yeah, this is why I love this conversation. I haven't had a mentor, and I came close, like this close one time, where it was more me approaching my professor. It was like a psychology of women. I actually don't remember the exact class, but it was my first psychology class because I was a business major first. So it was my first psychology class. It was a man teaching it. And I really liked what he was talking about. So I was like, maybe I do like psychology. Maybe I'll switch. So it was my first time approaching a professor. And this was like, I think my second year in college. I was like, I'm here. I have to take classes. I need to go. I have to go to work. I have other things to do. And that was just most of my college experience. So this professor actually made the time con Pena because I don't know, if he has time and all of that. So I asked him, and he actually had a really nice, probably like hour conversation telling me what I could do in psychology. At this point, though, I think it was at the end of my second year. So I was pretty far in that it was a lot easier for me to switch to psychology. So he said, you can always go for social work. And he took the time and explained if you went for mental health counseling, and this is going back like 20 years, right? So mental health counseling he's like, that board, it's kind of changing things here and there. So I suggest you do social work. So I looked into it in social work. I had to do all these internships. And then he's like, you can do that. I stayed in touch a little bit. And when I got into my master's program, I specifically remember seeking him out to tell him that I got in and that he was helpful and thanked him so much. But that's really where it stopped. It wasn't an ongoing, I didn't reach out again. And mostly it was like, does he want to hear? Does he want to know? He's probably really busy. But that was my only tiny, almost experience for a
Yeah.
mentor.
And I get it because that was in school. And that's when I think of mentorship. I also think of only in college. So I went in through the College of New Jersey through the EOF program. And that was a huge mentorship program in a way, just because we had advisors, specific EOF advisors, and they kind of walked you through all 4 years, kind of like to make good academic choices, but also life choices. Cause, nobody in our family had ever done that, which is why we were in the EOF program. But then we also had a minority mentoring program, which has now taken a different shape and a different name. And we had a student mentor, and then we were chosen to become mentors if we wanted to as we went into our sophomore, juniors, and senior years. But it was mostly like, as the way I saw it, was more like a friendship, like I guess it was guiding you. But back then it was like, all right, I know an upperclassman who's going to help me out and tell me where to go, what to do, and like, even the fun stuff too. But past the college years, I've never thought about the idea of seeking a mentor, of having a mentor. I wonder if I had them and didn't realize, like informally, but then I really look at them just as people I have friendships with and not really somebody who's guiding me to make these professional decisions that are going to work in my favor. I wish I had that more so in the professional realm.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. When you said that, it sparked something for me that someone actually offered professionally to be my mentor. And that was really interesting because I wasn't sure. Because that's the difference. Like someone's offering instead of you approaching. And I'm like, I'm not sure if my values align. I found
Mhm.
out I was very sure our values did not align later, which I'm glad really listened to that instinct because it was a professional person that potentially it could be a position that I wanted to be in. But the mentorship she was offering was do everything that I say and follow what I do. And I was like, I know, like I have a mind of my own. And then also when she saw I was kind of like questioning and asking more about certain decisions or certain things that she was telling me to do, I could also see that she was pulling back. So that was an interesting dynamic of a kind of a mentorship time that I had, but it was odd because it was me on the like, "Hey, do you want me to be your mentor?" Right? Which I would have never thought to ask this person to be my mentor. So professionally, I think it's a little bit different, like you're saying.
Yeah. Yes, and then where do you find them? And I think even if I had somebody in mind, you said it before, is like, tenía pena. Like, do you have the time? Do you want to talk to me about this? Are you going to have an interest? Like, do I pay you? Do I not? So all those questions always come up. And now, even now, I still have a hard time asking people for things because I want to make sure that I'm not taking advantage of their time and expertise and all of that. And then, like, how does that relationship even work? So then I just end up figuring it out myself and offering it to other people through things like the collective. But, to
Yeah.
seek it out for myself is a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, and I think for us in particular, doing what we're doing, entrepreneurs in mental health and Latinas, I think finding a mentor, I don't even know where I would start looking for
A needle in a
someone.
haystack.
Yes. And not even to say that the person has to be like a lot older than us to be a mentor, right? But I think in our field particularly, it's hard because not a lot of people are doing work that we're doing.
And that what you said before, like, we provide the coaching and community, but I think it's different once you start, going to other levels, right? As you hope everybody continues to learn and to grow. Then do you have that for yourself, for someone to pour into you as you continue to grow, which can be, I think, an added challenge again to really look through that haystack and find somebody that, as you were saying, aligns with your values, is in your field. Do they have to be in your field? I'm sure, other people can offer a lot without being in our field, or maybe people have different mentors for different things.
And that's true. That's true. I like this conversation because it's so different for us. We're like, "What is this?" Like a lot of questions around it and really genuinely interested in talking to more people about this. Like, how do you get connected to a mentor? And like you were saying, do you say is this free? Do I do like how much of your time? Like, I guess it's one of the hesitations that if someone was, let's say, an identified mentor for me, I would feel like I don't want to take up a lot of their time,
Yeah.
right? But I maybe I have questions or maybe I want to talk about certain things, and that would be more than 30 minutes. I would feel so uncomfortable kind of feeling like I'm taking their time when they could be doing all these other things because they're probably a really busy entrepreneur doing something else with their time. So, yeah, it's this awkward position. And I wonder how much, and I'm sure a lot of our culture goes into it because I do hear about people saying they have mentors, and I'm like, that's nice. I wonder what that's like.
I think about like my relationships within my TCNJ alumni, or maybe even within my sorority. Those are people, usually the people that I lean into and ask those questions, but I wouldn't say for sure they're a mentor. They're just folks that I can, I'm ashamed to say, like, pick their brain or ask a question. And I say ashamed to
Mm.
say because sometimes we do get those questions, "Can I pick your brain?" And they can turn into, 10-minute conversation, or that can be like a year-long thing of people picking your brain. And then where is it formalized, right? Is it a mentor? We've heard of the word sponsor. Is it a coach? And I'm sure all these things are different, but what that difference is, I don't particularly know.
Yeah. And I told you that that's how my coaching business started because it
Mm.
was people saying, "Hey, can I pick your brain? Can I ask you a few questions? Kathy, can I pay you for an hour of your time?" And it became this, well, I don't know. What do I charge? Well, yes, I do like talking about this and I want to pass this information along, but I also don't want to feel like, oh, I'm getting a lot of my time and I'm not sure what to do here. When does it stop? So that's actually how I started my coaching business for starting a practice or growing a practice because people were asking me that. And now to think of it, they were probably struggling with the same questions that we're asking right now. Like, hey, I want to ask Kathy a question. What do I do? I want some of her time. How do I ask for that?
And I respect that in terms of I value your time, right? You're a person if I look up to, and like you said, I'm sure you're very busy doing a lot of things. So I respect the wanting to pay. So that's coaching. And then
Hmm.
mentorship shouldn't be
Yeah.
paid. So then what exactly is the difference? I want to ask like the viewers and listeners, if you know the answer, please leave it in the comments so that we can learn, being that we don't have this experience, because it does sound quite interesting. And I'm assuming that you're never too old to find a mentor because you're going to be in different stages of life and business.
That's so funny because I was literally just thinking that. I was like, wait a minute, is a mentor only for someone who's younger? And not even younger, but like younger in that field, right? You could switch professions and then you're in school again and then you find a mentor. Yeah, it's a really interesting concept. Like when do you have a mentor? But you said something before about having a mentor in different stages of your life or different things coming up. So I can see that as well. But again, how does that become a formal thing, right?
Yeah.
To be someone's mentor. Actually, it's funny because the first time that someone called me their mentor, I was like, okay, that's nice. And I could totally see it at that time. This specific person, they had been one of my students that I supervised for their master's, right? And then I continued to stay in touch with them. And then we would talk every now and then, and I stayed in touch with them, knew what was going on. When I opened up my practice, they actually worked for me part time, me knowing that they would open up their own practice because we were talking openly about a lot of things and continued to call me, one of her mentors. And I thought that was an interesting concept. And thinking about it, and then it was never like, hey, let's go and do this. It was more like conversation, text, hey Kathy, I value your opinion. What do you think about this? And I enjoyed that role with her, and but I've never felt or had that experience myself.
Yeah, so interesting because you can have a formal named mentor, I guess, right? Like if you go
Yeah.
and ask somebody and have that relationship, but then like, I don't know. I mean, Oprah, it can be a wonderful mentor, Does Oprah know me? No, I wish she did. But like seeing, how she went about her life and how she started from the bottom and then going to the top is really amazing. So I guess you can have informal, formal, and then people that know and people that don't know.
Yeah, I guess people that inspire you that you say, "Oh, I'd like to do that," or "That person can do that." Because that was another one actually in every example that I gave you, none of them look like me either,
Mm.
right? One woman, but not Latina, a male, a much older male too. So there's something to that too, you saying people that you look up to or that did certain things, but we talk about people in the field, the same fields, but also people that look like us. In both of my examples, I could not relate in that way to them at all.
Well, there's only so many in our field,
Mhm.
and not just being private practice owners, but also entrepreneurs in different,
Yeah.
senses of that word. I don't think that there are too many, and sometimes, and not, I was going to say like they can do things differently, especially as generations evolve, right? We do things very differently, but that doesn't mean that we still can't get good tips and nuggets out of it. But it's kind of like where to find them. Again, that needle gets buried lower and lower in that haystack.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think if we think about this topic, why would it even be important to us, right? Why is it important to have a mentor? I mean, the situation or in the example that I gave you, it was really nice because I was able to talk about something I wasn't sure. I had no idea. This person laid out for me, how do you become a therapist?
Mm.
Right? And we feel it's a very complicated. So he's like, you can go this route to mental health counseling, or you can do this route where you do social work and then you get like he really just laid it all out for me and was giving me knowledge that no one else sat down and gave to me. So that was so important that he was able to give me that information. But why? Why are mentors so important? Is it just the information? But I don't think so. I also think it's seeing someone doing, and not even the same field, but like, oh, I can do that. And the person helping you to not make those same mistakes or giving you different options, I think is really nice to see that. So yeah, really thinking about why someone would even want a mentor, or is it the looking up to someone,
Mm.
right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I feel like probably it's a mix of
A
all of
little bit of
those and
both.
it's something different for everyone.
It's interesting. I heard on a podcast not too long ago somebody talking about not just having, in this case, it was a coach, but she called it having almost like an advisory council of folks that when she makes big business decisions, that she checks in with people who truly know her so that they know where the decision
Mm,
is coming from. And then somebody that's going to give more of a motherhood angle and then give more of like a financial angle. And I don't know what the third angle was. So she called this group of people her advisory council that truly have known her for more than 20 years
mm.
and that could kind of guide through these different lens that they know her by. And I thought that that was really interesting.
I like that. I've never heard of that, but it makes sense,
Yeah.
right? It makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. I think one of the things even thinking about that, if I were to do that, that I would struggle with is, yeah, the motherhood piece, I could definitely get people, but then again, it's the business piece, right? How the business decisions, because so many people, and I think it's the same for you, that are in my life, this like path that I chose is very different.
Yeah.
very different. People just understanding why. Why would you have 3 businesses, Kathy? Why are you upstairs recording when your mom is downstairs with your baby? You
Why do you
know?
wanna work so hard, Kathy?
Yeah. Why are you doing all those things? And why are you enjoying some of it and some of it is a struggle? I think that is really hard to find other people that understand it. It's part of why I wanted community. We go back to that, the community, but then we're talking about this piece that's a little bit different, the mentorship.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yeah, so there is a gap that, maybe we fill.
yeah, maybe we figure out what is this while we keep talking about it and talking to other people. And please comment about mentorship and your experience because I think it's needed, right? If we're talking about it and wondering about it, we definitely need it because who do we go to? I mean, I think we're lucky in the collective. We all have each other, right? So there's 3 of us and we're able to talk to each other about things. And it's why we created the collective so other people have people to talk to about things, but that mentorship piece, when it's very individualized to you, and maybe it's outside of coaching, right? Because we do the coaching there and we know great coaches, we coach, we do different things. But that mentorship piece that will maybe like just fill you up, inspire you. This is not an easy journey, right? This is
Yeah,
not an easy path that you pick to be an entrepreneur. There's lots of the ups and downs. And you need someone sometimes to just say, hey, it's going to be okay. This happened to me and this is how I dealt with that. I think everyone needs that.
absolutely. And while in the same breath as you're saying those magical things that, yes, everybody needs, even when you don't have it, you build and fix the plane while you're flying it, and you just continue to, like, go forward because the
Yes.
option isn't something too favorable, in most of our eyes. So you just continue to go forward as you figure these things out. But if you have a guide that could help you, that makes it so much easier with less lost time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we don't think about it quite often. And I've never really stopped to think about mentor. Why didn't I have one? It could have been this person, that person, because we, especially as first gen and women, we just do it. And we're so used to just doing it and figuring it out that we sometimes don't pause and think about, like, what else could I need in this moment? Because a lot of times you don't even have the time to pause and think about it. I think about when I was in school and why I probably didn't have a mentor is because um, and I've shared this before, I moved out when I was 19 years old. So that I was still in college when I moved out. And it was working full time, going to school. And then when I had my master's, I was working full time internship and school. And I wanted to finish in time. So it was like boom, 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 go to the next thing. And sometimes it was working 7 days a week. And I know this that even after, right? Because then after, boom, you have to go into getting all your clinical hours. And I had a full time job and always a part time ish. I say ish
Hmm.
because it was like 25 hours a week doing clinical work. And so I was also full there and I was go, go, go until I got my full license. And I remember, like, oh, I don't have to do as many clinical hours. I can do other things. And then I had choices to do, I can open up my own practice. I can do X, Y, Z. I've talked to other ones that it took me a little while to get there, but it was a lot of go, go, and always just doing and figuring out that I think these moments of pauses sometimes happen later in your career. So this is also to encourage, like, don't have those moments of pausing later, right? That it's
Yeah.
really important to pause earlier and say, wait, what else do I need? Or how can I get support in this area? Because I do like that there is more support out there. There are more people that look like us doing a lot of different things and we need to reach out and ask questions.
Yeah, that's exactly when I speak about mindful living and my framework. That's exactly what it's all about. That when we're in that go, go, go mode, yes, sometimes we have no options but just to figure it out. But when we take those mini pauses, and it doesn't have to be a full day, although that's fantastic. Sometimes it's just like going for a walk and thinking outside of the box or changing scenery in some way. And just thinking, like, what else is it that I want, that I need? Like putting yourself as a priority and making some time to just be. And then that's usually when the most creative ideas come along.
Yeah, exactly. And listening to yourself, because I think that's when I make shifts or that's when I figure things out because I'm like, something's up and this doesn't feel the same or something needs to change right now. And giving yourself that time is so important.
Yeah, and in those moments of pauses, that's when we can truly lean into and listen to our gut and our intuition and,
Yeah.
exactly like what our heart is telling us, especially when sometimes we don't have a guide to do that for us. So those, again, pauses are truly, truly important.
So again, comments, let us know, what is mentorship to you? What does it mean? What does it look like? And Vanessa and I are going to be doing our pausing and thinking about, what does this mean to us? And is there a gap? Is there something else that's needed that maybe needs to be created?
I love it. I love it. And in the meantime, if you are looking for help with a private practice and you want that coaching and community for yourself, you can always try the Latinx Practice Collective 1 month free by just going to our website, latinxpracticecollective.com. And we can see you there and you can see if perhaps we can be your coaches, communities, and slash mentors. This conversation, remember, is for educational purposes only and should not be substituted for therapy, financial, or business advice. But we do appreciate your feedback and advice. So we will be on the lookout for your comments. And until then, we will see you next time.